What my biological family asked for. After 30 years shocked me. I was abandoned as a newborn in an alley. No name, no note. Just left to be found or not. Over 30 years later, I finally got a message from the family who left me behind. And what they wanted was unthinkable. This isn't a feel-good reunion story. This is about manipulation, guilt, and a choice no one should ever have to make. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll have an opinion. Here's how one DNA test spiraled into the most twisted family reunion you've ever heard. Let's get into it. It all began on an ordinary Tuesday evening. One of those quiet nights where everything feels settled and peaceful. My fiancée, Vivienne, and I were lounging on the couch, wrapped in the soft comfort of a shared future. We were talking about kids, a conversation that had become more frequent lately. The thought of children running through our home brought a mix of joy and nervousness. "Imagine little ones playing here," Vivienne said, her voice full of hope. It was a sweet image, one that I wanted as much as she did. But even as I smiled, my mind drifted toward something more practical, something that had quietly haunted me for years. "Yeah," I replied. "But there's so much we don't know, like my medical history. Who knows what's hiding in my DNA?" Vivienne didn't need an explanation. She knew my story well. I was adopted, not through a traditional agency, but after being found abandoned in an alley as a newborn. That part of my life had always been hard to explain, even to myself. I wasn't just given up. I was discarded. But before anyone feels sorry for me, they should know my adoptive parents were incredible. They were kind, loving, and never once tried to hide the truth from me. I had known since childhood that I was adopted. They told me everything they could, but there simply wasn't much to tell. Even the police had hit a dead end. There were no clues, no names, no family records, nothing. It had been over 3 decades, and the mystery of where I came from had never been solved. Most of the time, I didn't think about it. I had grown up happy. I had parents who loved me and a life that was mine in every meaningful way. But as Vivienne and I started talking seriously about having children, all those unknowns suddenly mattered. I didn't care where I came from for emotional reasons. I cared because I wanted to make sure our future kids were healthy. What if there were genetic conditions I didn't know about? What if something I passed on could hurt them? That concern stuck with me. Eventually, I decided to take action. One day, I ordered a 23andMe DNA kit. It felt like the most logical step, something that might give me some insight into my medical background. When the kit arrived a few weeks later, I showed it to Vivienne. She raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "Detective Matthew is on the case?" she joked, smiling. I chuckled. "More like health detective," I said. She nodded in support. "If it helps us get some answers and move forward, I'm all for it." I appreciated her encouragement. That night, I opened the box, carefully read through the instructions, and filled the small tube with my saliva. It felt oddly symbolic, like I was sending a tiny piece of myself into the void, hoping to fill a gap I had lived with my entire life. After sealing the sample and completing the online registration, I dropped it in the mail. Then we waited. A few weeks later, the results arrived. I logged into the website, not quite sure what I was expecting. Maybe some vague genetic insights. Maybe a report on my ancestry or potential health risks. But as I clicked through the dashboard, I felt a growing sense of dread. I had made a mistake, one I hadn't even realized. While registering, I had somehow enabled a setting that made my DNA profile visible to other people who shared my genetic markers. In other words, I had unknowingly opened the door for biological relatives to find me. That hadn't been the plan. I wasn't looking for people. I already had a family. I didn't feel a void in that sense. I felt whole. But now, there was a possibility that someone, somewhere, had seen my profile and recognized a connection.